All right, what's up, guys? So I got Orlando Sanchez on the line in for a FaceTime call all the way from sunny Los Angeles, California. Orlando, what's up, man? It's good to talk to you.
What's up? Where are you at, man? Where are you at? Where are you at right now?
So this is Austin, Texas. This is the FloGrappling HQ, and this is the new
Oh,
series of
nice.
interviews that we're going to be doing, reaching out to top-level black belts across the world. So it looks like you're in the gym right now. You just got done training?
Yeah, I just had a good little workout session with my noontime guys here in La Cañada, California, where it's
Nice.
currently 91 degrees outside,
And this is the
and
winter.
this is the winter. This is my winter. So while the East Coast is freezing, snowing, we're out here enjoying summer. I'm in my sandals and shorts and a t-shirt, so I'm enjoying life,
It
man.
sounds like you're living the jiu-jitsu lifestyle.
I'm trying to. I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm living multiple lifestyles right now, so that's good.
Well, about the jiu-jitsu thing, so this is one of your Gracie Barra locations. How many have you got right now? Because you've been expanding aggressively.
Woo, man, this was always my dream school. This was a school to me that means a lot to me. I look back on my childhood, and I was able to, my parents, they moved heaven and earth to bring us into this town. Those of you who don't know this town, it's a uh, very small, quiet town, very, affluent, very educated, very wealthy, hardworking town. And I was able to go to school here and I was raised here. So I knew that when I first started Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I knew that one thing that I wanted to do was come back to my hometown and open a
Nice.
school here. So I was able to do that 3.5 years ago here in Gracie Barra, La Cañada, Flintridge. And now my kids go to school here. We live here and we're raising our kids here. And I'm lucky, man. I'm blessed to be able to live the jiu-jitsu life and raise my kids here. So this was school number 2. My first school I owned with my brother, who's also a jiu-jitsu black belt, Professor Orlando Sanchez. We own that one. That one's massive. That's kind of like headquarters. That's in Pasadena, California. That school is 6,000 square feet. We got
Wow.
hundreds of students, and that's I've been involved in that school for 8 years now, almost about as long as I've been training jiu-jitsu. I've been involved in that school. I started that school when I was white belt, at the end of my white belt career.
This is something interesting actually. You mentioned it right there. So let's put this in perspective. You're a top level black belt, an ADCC champion, 2017 ADCC silver medalist. You only got your black belt in 2012.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not that long ago, right?
yeah. I mean, I started jiu-jitsu. I did my first ever grappling, wrestling, anything. I did my first ever class at the end of 2008.
That's 10. That's not even 10 years.
Yeah, so I
So
started when I was 20. Yeah, 20 at the end of about 26 years old. I started, and it's just been like a whirlwind, and I get a chuckle sometimes because I see a lot of guys, and they're lucky, and I'm proud and happy to watch these guys. Some of these young guys who are killing the game. There's numerous guys, but they just train jiu-jitsu. Like that's all
Mhm.
they do. They just train jiu-jitsu. Um,
And
and
you're
and
balancing
I'm
a life, a family, businesses.
yeah, when I started, I was getting off drugs and stuff, and my life was in shambles. So I was balancing, trying to get clean. I just gotten together with my now wife. We were trying to live together and make moves together. And I was trying to make money. There was no money. There was nothing. I was dead broke. I was stealing my wife's student loan money. I was stealing my wife's student loan money and her college money. She's a forensic anthropologist. She was doing her master's in forensic anthropology, and I was taking all her money. And I mean, we were living on the go, man, eating top ramen and tuna, and just living the dream. But we were busting our ass, and that was 10 years ago almost, and I was 26, and by the time I won everything as a white belt, Pan Am's, Worlds, all that stuff, and then we started. Me and my then partner started a jiu-jitsu school in Pasadena, which I now own with my brother. So that was a while ago, but I was teaching already at the end of my white belt, come blue belt. I was just fascinated with jiu-jitsu, and you couldn't keep me away with it. Like, you couldn't have me shut up about it. So I was like, I would preach to anybody who would listen. I would invite everybody to come try it. And I was a blue belt. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I had passion for this, and it worked. I got,
Well, it took you
I
to where you
remember
got, so it must have been something
yeah,
special. Yeah.
it was something special. I remember I got like 15 guys to start paying for classes, in a karate school, and from there we moved to the location that we have now, and it's just been crazy ever since. So I was always, I was always simultaneously growing my business and trying to train and compete at the highest level.
Which is
So I
different
never
because a
really,
lot of guys get to black belt and then that's when they kind of make that switch, right?
yeah, and I was there since day one. Like, since white belt, I've always been trying, because I had to live. I mean, I had to pay, I had to pay the bills. I had to support my wife, and
Right.
I had to build something. And so for me, it was always like, I always envisioned it as, okay, like, for me, no challenge is too big. So I was always like, all right, well, I can compete, I can win all the major tournaments, and I can build this business, and I can progress and learn through my belts. So a lot of people don't know, but I've been training with Hamlo Bahal before he spoke English. It was just
Wow.
me and him. It was me and him. He's my professor. He gave me my black belt, and it was me and him in Encino. He had just gotten here from Brazil. He just came off his shoulder surgery. The year before, he had won the black belt of the year, 2009, I believe. He was black belt of the year. He beat Saulo in the finals. Remember, in the semifinals,
Yep.
Face Hauser and stuff. And I had no clue who he was back then. And we got connected, just by the chances. We got connected through the guy who was helping me out back then, and we got connected, and me and him just hit it off. And I was always big and strong, and he was real hungry. He was in the middle of his competitive days, and so we would meet up in the morning. Me and Professor Hamlo, we would meet up in the morning in Encino. He would beat the living shit out of me. he would literally, he would beat me to a point. I mean, face bleeding, choke my face, just crush me. And then I would come back. I would try to train a couple clients for personal training stuff I was doing. And then I would go back to Encino at night and train another 2 hours with Hamlo. Again, he would just beat me. And that happened for the first 2 years of my jiu-jitsu. I was all white belt and all blue belt.
So that's an interesting start. It sounds like there was a combination of luck, circumstance, being in the right time in the right place. But
Totally.
I'd like to go back to some of the things that you've mentioned there because the good thing about this interview is that we've got the opportunity to kind of really examine certain periods in your life and your career which have led to you being where you are today. So you mentioned, I mean, to be honest, you've led a very busy life, action-packed, shall we say. You're the kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that when you go in on something, you go all in, and that whether that's good or bad, but you live life 100 miles an hour, right? So
I do.
So, you've packed an amazing jiu-jitsu career into a very short period of time, but you mentioned something really, and this is quite defining for you and your story in particular, is that you found jiu-jitsu in a period of your life when you were at your lowest. So you were a college athlete, and if I'm right, that you had a football scholarship. So after your athletic career was done, you, shall we say, you fell off the wagon a little bit, and things didn't go well for you for a few years.
Yeah, like, man, ever since I can remember, I was always like, go big or go home. I was always all in on everything I did. It was just the way now that I've been through therapy for years and stuff, I understand who I am more from a brain chemistry sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since I was little, I was always like, like rip the training wheels off my bike and go down the hill 100 miles an hour when I was like 6, And, I never forget, my mom tells a story about, she came home one day and I had my bicycle and I was with a hammer trying to break the training wheels off because I wanted to be like my big brother. So it was just, that's just been me for my whole life. But when I found jiu-jitsu, I was, I went to Azusa Pacific University. I went to Pasadena City College. We won the junior college national championship almost the year that I was there. We had an amazing team. Then I was ineligible for NCAA, so I ended up getting a scholarship for football to play at Azusa Pacific, which at the time was NAIA. So then, we had an amazing career there. I played 2.5 seasons there, and then I got hurt.
I'm
But
guessing you're on defense.
I was nose guard, and then I played some fullback also, though.
Wow.
So just my athleticism and stuff led me. But and then at that time, at 22 years old, 21 years old, 20 years old, you just don't think about life, man. You don't think about future. You don't think nobody ever told me, hey, man, like when you're 30, you got to pay bills and try to raise a family if you want, and you got to have money and ink. Like that was never even a thought to me because I was just living so crazy. And then you don't make it to the NFL, and all of a sudden, I invested my time from 13 years old, 14 years old. I invested all of my life to football. So it's all I ever cared about. So when that finishes, a lot like the military, a lot like the NFL, a lot of these situations, when it finishes, nobody has ever taught me what to do after that.
Right. So you feel like you go into civilian life almost. It's like it's taken away from you and you're left with nothing.
Left with nothing at that point. And that's what I try to preach to my students too. We can talk about that later, but like in the jiu-jitsu world, the same shit's happening in jiu-jitsu now.
Right.
That these guys are dedicating their entire life to win a stupid, silly medal. Not stupid, silly, but you know what I mean? In retrospect,
in the grand scheme of things, it's not that significant.
In the grand scheme of things, you win a little medal, but if you're not taught to do after that, then you're going to be in trouble. But anyway, so I once I graduated and finished football, and you don't make it to the NFL, then I'm like, okay, well now what?
Right.
And at that time, I had just come off of a bicep tendon injury. I had surgery, and I was just like, man, super depressed. I didn't know why, and I just like the next thing I know, I'm engulfed in like partying and drugs and depression and cocaine and the cycle and and it just turns into like this perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I'm like all in. I'm creating a little empire selling, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and like and you don't hang around with the best people when you're involved in those kind of situations. So my life was in shambles, and then I got to the point of that was from about 21 years old to about 26 years old. It was just hardcore, man. It was
so that's a big chunk of time. And I guess my question for you then is, you spent 5 years living this life, and what was it that brought you back? Like, how did you manage to walk away from that? Because generally, when people go down that path, it's very, very difficult for them to turn around and come back into the light, should we say?
Man, I don't know. It's crazy. I get emotional even thinking about it because it was, I have times where I sit with my wife and we'll be talking, and like I have no recollection of my early 20s from 21 to like 25. I have like I can pick up bits and pieces, but my brain is like fried from those times. Just the traumatic experiences that I was experiencing every single day. Like trauma became my norm.
Right.
Always scared, always running, always worried, always dealing with bad stuff. Always driving around with plenty of illegal things in the car.
Yep.
It's like you start living this life, and it got away from me. It really got away from me. And I remember a big realization was one day I hadn't seen my brother for years, and my brother came to visit me. He was living in Florida at the time, and he had come to visit me, and I was just living my normal life, and my brother comes over, and I was living in this little apartment up in Altadena, and I mean it was. You turn on those Vice specials, and you go and like, you see those crazy houses and stuff. Like that's the house. It was just chaos. It was drugs, weapons. I mean, it was just chaos. And I remember my brother sitting there in the house, and all kinds of people in there, all kinds of drugs, just partying all night. And I remember like looking at him, and I kind of, there was like this separation of like, man, I don't even really know who my brother is anymore.
And
And I
he
know that he
probably
was looking at
saw
me.
the same thing about you, right?
Exactly. And he was saying the same thing about me. And at that time was kind of near the end of like that run that I had of like 5-6 years. And, and I know that he was really, we talk about it to this day, he was terrified for me, man. He was so worried, but he didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to do. I mean, I won't get into detail, but the things that he saw in that one night of being in my house, was enough to really spook him out. And
So
and that was my
there was no like family intervention. There was no like last chance from the cops, like get straight or go down a hole or something. It was a realization that came from within you guys, and luckily you
well,
managed to figure it out.
yeah, yeah. Like what really happened was I had met my wife, or my now wife. It was all in that kind of same time frame.
Hmm.
I was so heavy. I was like, God, I was like 380 pounds at the time.
Wow.
I was on all kinds of drugs, drinking alcohol just to go to sleep. And I remember like I was laying on a bed in my apartment. I was laying there, and I was smoking a cigarette, and I don't even smoke cigarettes, and I'm smoking a cigarette. And I'm kind of looking at myself in the mirror that's on the side of my bed, and I'm smoking in my room, and I'm like man, like it just kind of hit me that one night, like where the fuck how did I get here?
Hmm.
And I had that self-realization of like, fuck, man, like I used to love sports, and I used to play football, and I used to bodybuild and compete, and now I'm a fucking 380-pound dope dealer who's running around like a fucking maniac. And I got to that realization. I was laying there, and I just felt like there was an elephant sitting on my chest. I was having chest pains, and I was coming down from a hard binge, and like 5 days straight of partying. And I remember saying to myself, well, if I wake up tomorrow, because I had accepted if I would have died, no big deal. So I told myself, I said, if I wake up tomorrow, then I will figure out something to get myself going again. So I never forget, I went down to the Gold's Gym, and I spoke to a buddy of mine named Ricky Delgado. And I said, Ricky, man, I want to do something, man. Like, I don't know, I need to do something to start working out again, man. And he's like, oh, well, I'll hold pads for you. So he started showing me kind of boxing, and then Muay Thai, and then he showed me how to punch the bag, and started getting into it. And I was like, and then he took me over to a place called Sit Yatong,
Oh yeah, very
A Muay
famous
Thai
Muay
school,
Thai school.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
in Pasadena. And who there is where I met Walter McCloskey, Crew Walter, who's become a huge part of my life, who I love to death. He's actually he lives across the street from me now. We've been friends ever since, but he was one of the guys who really set me in the direction to where I went. He was a big motivation for me. But he got me into Muay Thai. Like, I went to Thailand with him. I mean, I did the whole thing when I first started. I talked about going all in. And I got into Muay Thai a little bit, and then at that Muay Thai school at Sit Yatong is where I rolled my first time ever with the little guy, and
Wow.
the little guy kicked my ass, and
And let's
that
ask,
was it,
how
man.
big were you roughly at this time? You've been training a while. I assume
Oh,
you dropped some weight.
I was probably like mid 300s, low
Still
300,
big,
lower
eh?
320, yeah, 320. I was still, and like what I would do then is I would stop partying a little bit, so I'd party hard on the weekends. I would go Friday, Saturday, Sunday binge, and and then I would try to train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I would try to start. The addict's brain always justifies everything you do, so
Uh-huh.
I would justify it. I'd be, oh, I deserve it.
I've
So I
trained
would
so
get into
hard,
that
like
stuff.
I'm allowed to take some
Yeah,
time off. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So that's how I started living in the beginning of my training and stuff, and then that's how, And then once I found jiu-jitsu, it was game over, man. It just, I remember the first time I rolled and like I got my ass kicked. The first time I rolled and got my ass kicked, I was like, it was like, it was like that line of cocaine, that first line of cocaine all over again. It was like, boom, like, my God, like I found my alternative, quote unquote drug. Um, and I was just hooked. I loved it, man. I loved it. And I knew that I could be good at it. Like from the first day I tried, I was like, I can get good at this shit. I know it. And then 4 years from that day less than 4 years from that day, I got my black belt.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
So I want to
yeah,
talk about that as well, because that is it's one of the many remarkable things about you and your story, right? It's the fact that you went from zero to black belt in, like you say, kind of around about 4 years. So I mean, for the majority of people, it takes anything from 8 to 12 years of regular training, study, the whole works to get from
yeah,
white belt to black belt. And you did that in less than half of what is considered a good time to do it in. So you mentioned there about how you were very lucky to link up with a world-class player like Homer Bahal very early in your
yeah,
time on the mat, and you had the amazing fortune of training with him in daily, like just one-on-one sessions, which, to be honest,
yeah,
many people would never be able to experience that. You had that from the very
yep.
beginning. But still,
From the beginning, yep.
that's not enough to get you to where you need to be, right? I mean, simply getting on the mat and being with somebody and getting, like you say, getting your ass kicked is not going to make you into a world-class black belt. So
Yeah,
maybe if you could explain a little bit about the early stages in your career. Let's talk about from,
yeah.
say, white belt to brown belt. Okay,
It's
like,
all here, man. It's all in here.
okay,
It's
because you had
all,
the
yeah,
physical capabilities. You were a former athlete. You were getting back in shape. Now you're one of those really big guys who's also incredibly athletic, right? So I'm sure that picking up the physical side of things was easy enough. But like you said, it was this was the
it's all,
difference.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
and I, now I've been coaching now for 8, 9 years, and I'm telling you right now, I can tell when somebody walks in the door if they have what it takes or they don't have what it takes to become a world champion. You know, uh, being good is just not enough anymore. Like, you can't just be technically good.
Right.
It's all here, man. It's in your head. It's in your head. It's in your head. And like any sport, there's 100 Michael Jordans out there, but the guys can't get it together in their brain, man. They can't do
Mm-hmm.
right things. They can't. They give up too easy. They quit too easy. They want to get this or they want that or they think they're entitled. It's very hard for people to drop that ego per se and work hard with the intent of just working hard with no money, with no prize, with no anything but a medal. I mean, that's all I worked for. And I knew that for me, I put in my head, I said, I want to be the best. I want to win all these tournaments. And that's all I cared about. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
care about Instagram. I didn't care about followers. I didn't care about sponsorships. I didn't care about who was cool and who I could take a picture. Like, that shit was so irrelevant to me. And there was really none of that social media stuff when I was coming up. But I'm almost glad that there wasn't,
Right.
because it fucks up a lot of kids' careers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, they start getting in the wrong attitude and they start thinking that they're more entitled than they are, and just all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of different things that happen. What I see that a lot of the young players get, and the
So
biggest thing I can say
let me
is,
interrupt. I'm real sorry, but let me
yeah,
interrupt. It's like so. What you're saying then is for you is that you had the objective of becoming a champion, but more important
yeah,
than that, it wasn't just a desire, but it was also the focus.
the focus. You have to, man. When you, like anything that I've done in my life, like I've been lucky enough, and I was talking to somebody that everything that I've ever set out to do, I've done and I've accomplished, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it comes with that crazy obsession, that crazy focus that I have of once I get attached to something, it's like laser. It's like
Mm-hmm.
not too many people, and I'll tell you the truth, like not too many people can be around me or be my friend or hang out with me when I'm trying to get something done,
Because you go all in.
because I go all in, and that's why, thank God, over the years, she's been a blessing to me. My life so many times, but not too many people can hang out with that because it is overwhelming. And I'll say it to myself. I'm a very overwhelming individual. Like, I'm all in. I've had people leave my school before and they can't train with me because I'm too much sometimes, and that's just part of who I am, I feel. But at the same time, that's what made me successful in the jiu-jitsu world, because I didn't care about anything else but not getting scored on and winning every match. That was
Gotcha.
my goal. I mean, that's all I cared about. Like, nothing mattered, dude. Nothing mattered. Nothing mattered. Nothing mattered except for so and so can't score on me. I have to win. I have to win. And I play around still to this day. I tease, and say in my students, I'm like, all right, guys, if you can score on me, I'll give you $1,000, because it's a way of having them come after me, of having them believe in something. You know what I mean? Like, come on, let's go. Let's make something bigger. And that's always been my attitude. I do it in fun, of course, but it's part of who I am. It's that all or nothing, man. You can't half-ass it anymore. That's why, like, I don't know, like, jiu-jitsu is in a very weird place for me right now. When I look at a lot of the guys coming up, and the attitudes and the entitlement a lot of the young players have, and I don't know, it's just, to each their own, and I don't know. I just like to work hard, man. I like to work hard. Hard work is like, it's my obsession, in anything I do, really.
So
Look at my life now.
yeah, let's take a little a look then at the later stage in your career. So after black belt, so you got your black belt in 2012, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2012. Since then, you've competed in tournaments like the Pans, like Worlds, but I think the one that possibly, obviously your highest achievement, and the one that people have seen you in, the only one that people have seen you in for the last couple of years, was ADCC. So you were ADCC champion there in 2015 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. You went through some of the toughest heavyweights in the world right there. You beat Dean Lister, you beat Vinny Magalhães, you beat Jared Dopp. And I remember I was there, Matt side, when you won that gold medal. I was taking photos throughout. And I remember that the moment that you won the finals match against Jared Dopp, you had Jacob Harmon in your corner, and Homolo and the other guys were just across on the mat. But you dropped to your knees and you sobbed, and the energy that poured out of you at that moment, I mean, it was incredible to watch, actually. But can you go back to that moment for me, that match there in ADCC 2015, and tell me a little bit about it?
So we could go back even 2 years before that, in 2013 in China. It was my first ADCC, and I get goosebumps even thinking about it. That's just kind of like the passion that I have for all this shit. So I'm very, like, in my career, I've always been very, like, my brain is wired as like an addict's brain, right? Like, I pleasure seek.
Right.
I'm about seeking pleasure. I like to conquer shit and then move on. I don't like to stay and become 10-time world champion or 20-time fucking, pan world, whatever it is. I like to conquer and go, conquer and go, conquer and go. Like, I tap and go. That's been my life this whole time. So in 2013 or 2012, I got my black belt. The first tournament I wasn't allowed to compete right away because I got my black belt too fast.
Oh, you were ineligible.
So I was ineligible for like 6-7 months. So almost a whole season. So then I come back. I do my first tournament. My first black belt tournament was in Chicago. I did the Chicago Open, and I do really well. I win double gold. I beat Greg Gracie in the finals as my first tournament ever as black belt. So I beat a couple of guys in my division, and I went on to the absolute and beat all the guys in the absolute, and then fought Gregor Gracie in the finals. I beat him, and he talked all kinds of shit about me. Everybody talked shit about me, whatever. So I was like, cool, this is cool. All right, cool. And then from there I went on to the Pan Ams. Pan Ams comes out, and now they do the absolute before they do the weight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, cool, I'll do the absolute. Like, fuck it, it's my first time ever doing it at black belt. So boom, I jump in the mix. I start winning all the matches. I had to get like 6 or 7 matches to gold. Start beating some guys who I really don't know who they were, tough guys. And then I fight Leandro Leangelo at the time who was killing it. I beat Leangelo. I pull guard. I almost sweep him. I get some advantages. I beat Leangelo. Everyone's like, wow, like, way to go, Orlando. So I'm like, fuck, that was cool, I beat Leangelo. It's a big notch on my belt at the time. And then I went on and I fought Andre Galval next. And it was very questionable that I lost that match. It was just such a cool feeling. The whole crowd was booing when they raised his hand, and I was passing the whole time, and I had him upside down, and I put a lot of pressure. It was just a great match, and of course I understand he gets the nod. He had me in an omoplata for a while, but I allowed it, and I wasn't in danger, and it was just an awesome match. But I remember, like, I beat Leangelo, and then I fought Andre to a 0-0. But he got the nod, and then he ended up winning. He ended up going on and having a really famous fight with Buchecha in the finals. That was just like an awesome fight. So at that point, you got to understand where my brain is at, right? My brain is like, okay, well, first black belt tournament, fought the best guys in the world, beat them, tied the other. I'm like, I'm over this shit. Like right then and there, I was over it,
That's
and
why
I've
you
never
never
said
went
that
back to
before to
pants.
anybody. That's why I was like, I was over it, dude. I was like, dude, I fucking, but that's how my brain works.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying everybody's like that, but that's how my brain works, because I'm trying to crunch in a lifetime of work into 8 years,
Right.
So I'm like, all right, I'm over it, I'm over it. I beat the best guys. I proved that I belong here. I'm over it. So then I was like, well, what next? And then the ADCC. I was like, oh shit, the ADCC, man. There's only 4 Americans who ever won it at the time. Holy shit. Boom, right away. Then I get invited. Like last second, I get invited. 2013, I just got my black belt. I was like, this is amazing. Okay, cool. I had no idea what to expect. So I head out to China and, end up submitting my first guys. And then I fight Cyborg. And, he was the breakout star that year. But I
Yeah.
fought him. We fought a war. And it's still questionable that I said I scored some points, but I didn't get them or whatever. But we had a war. And again, I proved at that time that I was, that I belonged there, that I was one of the best in the world. And I had only been training for him. So at that time, in 2013, I told myself, I said, I walked out of there after that fight with Cyborg. We had an awesome fight. I walked out there. I walked to the back. I told my brother, I said, Mondo, I'm going to win that shit in 2015. I guarantee it. 2013, I told my brother, I said, I don't care about any of this gi shit. I'm over the gi. I already beat guys that are the best in the world. I'm over it. Like, let's go win the ADCC now. So at that time, I focused all my energy into winning the ADCC. So I started training, and I just started, obsessing over it. And I told my brother, I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then I literally, that's why, like, I did a couple more black belt tournaments, and this, like, the fire was gone. Like, once I beat some of the best guys, I'm like, I don't know. I just need something new. I need some new novelty. It's just not
Right.
pleasurable for me anymore. So right after that, I switched all my energy to becoming the ADCC champion. I said, I'm going to do this. And then boom, sure enough, 2015 came down. I went down there, and I'm telling you how I knew for a fact 100% that I was going to win that tournament. Like, I just knew it. I knew it from the day. I even told my brother, and he can vouch for me. I told him at dinner. We were having dinner the night before after I beat my first 2 guys. I said, I'm going to win the finals, and I'm going to get a cool picture of me doing a suplex, and I'm going to make a poster of it. I told him that I was going to do that, and I fucking vouched, and I just turned it into reality, and I just went out there and I believed in myself, and I became an ADCC champion. I was like the 5th American ever, in all of its history. And to
Yeah,
me,
I thought you were going
once
to
I
put
won
Jared Top
that,
through the mat with that suplex, by the way.
yeah, and then, like, you got to understand, and this will kind of help explain, like, my whole career path as far as jiu-jitsu. This will help people understand anymore. Hold on.
There we go.
You got, this interview is going to help people kind of understand where I come from. It's like, once I won the ADCC in 2015, bro, that was it, man. I got to where I wanted to go in jiu-jitsu. Like, that was it. I got my black belt in 4 years. I beat some of the best guys in big tournaments in the gi. I went on to win the ADCC no gi. Like, what else is there, man? Like, what else? For me, in my brain, the way I work, I'm like, well, what else is there? And then come 2017, I almost died of a heart issue.
Yeah, now let's put this in perspective. Now we
Yeah.
ran the interview stroke article with you.
Cut out there.
You got me?
Yeah, I got you now.
All right, let me try that again. So we let's put this in perspective for ADCC 2017. That we ran the interview stroke article with you just a couple of weeks before the tournament, and what was it? 6 weeks before ADCC 2017, where you had 4 matches, and you went head to head with the best heavyweights in the world. Buchecha in the final, coming away with a silver medal, but 6 weeks before that, you were in the hospital. You weren't even sure whether you were going to leave that hospital alive.
I was. It was the scariest time of my whole life. I got into I was on vacation with my family up in Lake Arrowhead in the cabin that we have up there, and I hadn't been able to train correctly for months. I was really swollen and bloated and all this stuff, and man, I was just hurting. And I would have a big fan on the mats next to me, so between rounds, I would have to go next to the fan and cool off. And I was just like in bad shape, man. Something was wrong, and I kept on, for some reason, just like neglecting it, just saying whatever, I'm just going to keep through, just denial. And then, sure enough, like 6 weeks before the ADCC, man, I was up in the cabin, and I couldn't breathe. I was laying down, and I was feeling like I was being waterboarded, like I was choking on fluid, and I was like, what is going on? So sure enough, one of my black belts, who's a ER doctor, he's like, hey man, just go get checked out. So I went over to the ER up there, and next thing you know, they're telling me that I'm having congestive heart failure, and that my heart sac is surrounded by fluid, and I'm that I have atrial fibrillation, which means I'm having an arrhythmia of my heart. So, I mean, get this news. I'm sitting there on the bed. My kids now are hysterical, crying, asking my wife if daddy was going to die, and that was the single-handedly worst thing I've ever been through in my whole life. Watching my kids ask if I was going to die, like, man, it was fucking horrible.
And this is after a sustained period, many months of stress. You had issues with your family, you had issues with your business. So everything all came together. And you mentioned as well about the physical problems that you suffered. They were remnants of your hard partying lifestyle back in your 20s. So everything came together, a perfect storm, and put you in the hospital bed. Now, to go from that, simply walking out of the hospital and carrying on with your life, most people would see that as a triumph. And yet, you managed to go from that 6 weeks later, fighting on the biggest no-gi grappling stage in the world and making it through to the finals. I mean, that shouldn't have happened, right?
And it goes back to what I was telling you about myself. I'm the kind of person who, it has to be worth it for me to even get excited. Like, people ask me why I don't fight in the UFC now, right? I could easily have made it to the UFC. I could be in the fighting in the UFC right now. It just doesn't excite me to pay me $10,000 to go do something that I know that, I can beat any heavyweight in the UFC right now. I guarantee you. I will put my life savings on it. I will beat any heavyweight in the UFC. There's no excitement there anymore. There's nothing that thrills me. There's no, nothing like $10,000 or this or that. Like, it just doesn't mean it anymore. And going back to the ADCC, when I walked out of that hospital bed, I knew in my head, because I wasn't even really planning on maybe not doing the ADCC. I was like, I've already been there, I've won it, I've done that. But when I got out of that hospital bed, I told myself, I said, motherfucker, there is no way that I'm about to die and I'm going to go out like this shit. I'm going to go win the ADCC now. And that's how I got to do the ADCC in 2017. It was all personal for me. It was all because I was in the hospital and because people told me I couldn't do it, because my doctor says I shouldn't do it, and because everyone was like, "Oh, man, that's why that's why I was motivated to do the 2017 ADCC. No training, no training camp, no anything.
Yeah,
I took
because
my little
I remember for 2015, I remember the lead up to that competition. All of you guys, the Gracie Barra guys, were all there training together in those huge
Yep,
sessions with Jacob Harmon, and you guys had
yep,
those incredible like head-to-head
yep,
wrestling sessions. Jacob slapping you around the mat, getting you
yeah,
fired up for it and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And then
yep.
2017, you had like zero. You were
I
walking
did
on a
nothing.
treadmill.
I did nothing. I showed up with my underwear, and I literally just I warmed up. My brother stretched me. I said, Mondo. I told my brother Armando. I said, let's go do this shit, man. I told him, I said, watch. I'm gonna show the world that I'm the best American heavyweight grappler in the world. And sure enough, I did. I fought my friend Bouchesh in the finals. We had a war. I dove on my sword in the last couple minutes. I tried to make something happen. I couldn't, and he took me back, and the rest is history. And but I proved again that I belong. I proved again that my whole career I've belonged. Everybody's doubted me. My whole career, everybody's doubted me. Oh, Orlando is not that good. Orlando's too strong. Orlando stalls everybody out. Like, you guys go try to stall Leandro Lowe out. You guys go try to stall Andre Go. I want to see you do. You know what I'm saying? People just don't get it, and that's where the hate comes in, and the insecurity when people are not that good, and for me, like that's what made me want to compete in the ADCC in 2017 was fucking people doubting me that I was unhealthy and that I was going to die, and that was it for me. Like, that was my whole motivation, man. I was like, I'm going to do this now, and that's what got me, motivated. So we'll see. Hopefully, something will motivate me for 2019.
Wow, this is my next question, and I think the perfect place to start wrapping up our interview. It's been an
Yeah,
amazing 45 minutes so far, but unfortunately, we have to kind of
yeah.
call it come to a close at some point. But that is something that I really would like to know. Is like, I know that you're very busy with your schools. I think you're up to 4 Gracie Barra locations right now. Is that correct?
Six,
6. Oh
six.
wow. Okay, they're multiplying, but
Yeah, they're.
you're taking over. But talking about building an empire there, you've traded one in for the other, right? So it's now a Gracie
Yeah.
expanded the Gracie Barra empire. But in terms of this phase of your life, is this you moving away from competition because you said that the gi competitions don't really do it for you. You're undecided. ADCC's only every 2 years. The gym, the family and stuff. Is that now what you're going to go all in on?
Well, I haven't talked about this publicly or anything, but I'm gearing up to do like some major, major, major life changes and career changes. I'm getting into. I've always been fascinated with big business, with publicly traded companies, investment banking. That whole world is something that fascinates me. And actually, this week, me and my couple partners that I'm working with have put in a provisional patent for a certain thing that we have going. And my my trajectory now is I want to be on the cover of Forbes magazine as one of the most successful businessmen ever to live, and that excites me. You know, um, that is what I love and I think about and I dream about every single day is becoming one of those guys, one of the biggest businessmen ever to do it. I'm talking, billion-dollar status companies, and that's what excites me. And if you look at my track record, I've always done everything that I say that I'm going to do. And I won't get into too much detail, but I've already have my feet involved in that world. So that's my major goal is you guys will see me suit and tie on Forbes magazine sooner than later. but as far as competing and stuff, I'll do the ADCC again in 2019. 100% I'll do it because it's going to be here in LA. And it's like a reunion of like just all the good guys, you know. So for me, it'll be exciting, you know, whether I go down to 220 or stay where I'm at now. And, you know, I know Gordon Ryan will be fighting in the ultra heavy too. So that'll make for some interesting matches. I'm a huge fan of Gordon. He's awesome. I think he's doing it right. He's doing the jiu-jitsu game right, man. He is doing it right, man. You know, if I was to give advice to the younger guys coming up, do what he's doing. You know,
well, what do you think it is that he's doing then? I mean, he's obviously he's going out and winning, but what is it that he's doing?
He's working his ass off, man. He's working his ass off. You see him, that kid is training all fucking day long. You know, he drives to, you know, New York. He does all, I mean, he's training all the time with the best guys. You know, that's what it takes. It takes, yes, he's doing his marketing thing and he's doing a brilliant job, but he's the kind of guy, when it comes to training, like he's out there training his ass off, you know, and you can tell by his physical body, by his changes, by his, you know, competitiveness,
and
he's doing it right. You know,
he's got the results to show for it. Yeah,
dude, everybody can hate him as much as they want, but the kid is winning. The kid is fucking fire, and that's the kind of, you know, that's who I look forward to seeing, you know, grow and kind of become the head of the sport. Is guys like him. You know, the young guys should look up to him. He's very loyal. He's a good guy. He's a good student. You know, he's loyal to his professors and his teachers, and he's just a good dude, man. And I like watching him. I'm a fan of his. So I like watching him. So, you know, maybe we'll fight in 2019 in the ultra heavy division. You know, that'll be fun. That'll get me up off my feet, excited. You know, and that's just how it is. You know. So, but for me, it's like I've been there. I've done that. I've won the best in the world. I've become the best no-gi grappler in the world. You know, and I've proven all of my doubters in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've proven all of my doubters wrong. You know, I've showed that I'm the best, one of the best in the world, and now I really am fascinated with big business, man. So you guys will see some changes here in this next year that I'll be able to announce once things close. But you know, look for me. It
sounds exciting, man. I mean, to be honest, Orlando, like you said, man, you go so, you know, you go all in on everything you do, and you have a habit of proving people wrong. If even half of what you say manifested in itself, then to be honest, I think people are going to be shocked. So I personally,
it's going to be awesome.
I'll be keeping an eye out for that. I'm very excited to see
I'll tell you this much. I will die a billionaire. Awesome. I will die a billionaire.
Orlando, it's been a pleasure. Thank you a lot for taking the time to speak to us today.
Thank you, guys.
It's a great way to start our new series of interviews. And yeah, all the best, and we'll hope we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, guys. Love FloGrappling. Love everything you guys are doing, man. You guys have just taken it's a new level, and I'm so proud to be here with you guys. And you know, anything I can ever do to help grow the sport or help you guys grow, you know, I'm always here. Shout out to all my Gracie Baja people and my Shoei Roll people and my Ruka Sport people, all my people around the world, man. Thank you so much. Look for a bunch of new exciting stuff coming from me this year. You'll see a lot of exciting stuff, so stay tuned.
It's badass. Orlando, until next time.
All right, brother.